Welcome to ITS 129. Today, I'd like to talk about the installation and download of your MySQL database. To do that, we'll be using what's generally known as a stack application, which installs several things in addition to MySQL. Now, I'm going to go a little bit off track here, and I'm going to talk first about MAMP for Macintosh people. Macintosh, Apache, MySQL PHP. So for you Macintosh people, you would probably want to use MAMP, right? And what MAMP is, free download here. You can go ahead and install the stack software so that you can install MySQL, Apache, and PHP. But again, today I wanted to talk a little bit about WAMPServer. So WAMP stands for Windows, Apache, MySQL, PHP, the things that we need to do some of the stuff that we want to do in our course. So I'm going to click on download. A reliable source that I found is one called surgeforce.net. And all you do is you just download it. Now I've already downloaded mine. So I'm going to go and minimize my screen and come to WAMPServer. Now, to install, you double click. This is going to take about 5 to 10 minutes. So hope you can bear with me. Just kind of double click on it here. It's going to take you to, hopefully maybe you don't have to do this one. This is because I'm using the KCC machine. And then I'm going to go ahead and continue on. Now, the first ones are fairly easy to understand. English, okay. I accept, the open source license. This is saying that there's going to be a little change here and there. It shouldn't be a problem. Disable Skype, those kind of things. It shouldn't be a problem. Next. And then I'm going to install it here. You can choose to install it wherever you want. Now, this one's kind of important. For now, I'd like you to go ahead and make sure you check off PHP 7, right? And MariaDB earlier version and MySQL earlier version is fine. Later on, I'm going to explain, what MariaDB, what MySQL is, and those kind of things. So I'm going to click on next. And then I'm going to say, okay, this is where I'm going to put it. I'm going to install. So again, it's going to take a couple minutes for this to install. Now, while this is installing, I'm going to give a short lecture on MariaDB and MySQL. They both are open source databases, relational databases. Now, here's the thing. MySQL is currently owned by the same guy that owns Lanai Island. Yes, Larry Ellison and Oracle. Now, when they bought MySQL several years ago, maybe about 5 years ago, I think, there were some that were not happy with MySQL being sold to such a database giant. And they wanted to keep it open source, like free to everybody. So what they did was, I'm going to say over here, not necessary. I'm okay with the defaults. What they did was the original MySQL guy said, well, you know what, we're going to continue on our own. And in continuing on their own, they formed this database called MariaDB. Yeah. Now, early on, they were exactly the same. Now they're a little bit different, enough that it may give some pause, for some of the commands. But generally, they're even. Yeah, they're the same. So once you have it installed, I'm going to come to my Windows button, look for WAMPServer, get it started. and it's gonna, do a couple of these windows over here with saying this. It's kind of changing some stuff. So let's go ahead and make sure that it started. So then once that happens, and it looks like nothing happened, really, it got started. But to really see it, what you need to do is you need to go to your browser. So I'm going to just go back to my Firefox here, and I'm going to type in localhost PHP my admin, like this. Okay. Now, what it does is, because you have it installed properly, what it did was it started this application called Apache. Apache is a open source web server. That means it allows your computer to act as a web server. So, unfortunately, you're only for your machine, so you cannot put it on the internet. Yeah. But now you can access web pages on your machine. So it's going to come with this login screen. English is the language. Now, for this installation using WAMP, sorry, the username is root, no password, and we want to use MySQL as opposed to Maria. Okay, so we want to use MySQL. Click on Go. And here we have the introductory screen to MySQL using PHP MyAdmin. Yeah. On this side, it's called a navigation pane. On the left side, navigation pane, it has all your databases. These are different tabs that we'll be taking a look at now. We're not going to be able to take a look at all of them, but we will be we will be taking a look at some of them as in this course. So, to go to home, I always like to just kind of click on the PHP my admin or the house over here, right? And it just kind of gets you back to start. Now, if I wanted to create a database, I'm going to create a database and I'm going to call it Dale. Like this, right? I'm going to create it. Now, once I create it, you notice that there's a database called Dale, right? Then I'm going to create a table called, say, for example, products, yeah, products. And I'm going to go say 4 columns. And that means 4 fields. And I'm going to click on Go. And I'm going to, give them names. So I'm going to say product ID, and it's an integer. So it means it's a number. Yeah. And I'm going to say that it's automatically incremented, right? Cannot be null. That means cannot be empty. And there'll be other things inside here that you want to do eventually. Then I'm going to say product name, product name, right? And I'm going to say this one is a character, a varchar, and I'm going to say this is 50 characters. Yeah. And there is no defaults here, attributes, and I'm just going to type in a message to myself, product name, something simple, right? Make sure. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say product type. I'm just making things up here. Again, I'm going to say this is a varchar. I'm going to say this is a 50 space. Yeah. Type of product. Produce, dairy, meat. Something like that, right? And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say product price. And for this one, I can leave it as an integer. Later on, we'll talk more about other kinds of values that you have here. And I'm going to say this is 10 characters wide, price of product. Okay, like this, yeah. And then once I'm done, and no problem, you can always come back to later. I'm going to go ahead and you can preview the SQL, but we're not doing that yet. And then I'm going to just come over here and say save. And now I have my products table. Now I can go and collapse and expand, and I see my products table. If I expand my products table, I can see my columns that I just made. Now, for now, if I want to insert that, I click on my products table. I want to insert some values over here. And what I want to do is I say, for example, I just said, okay, I'm going to come here and I'm going to go and click on my product, click on Dale, sorry. I'm going to click on insert. Yeah, product ID. Now I automatically incremented it, so I'm not going to do anything over here. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to say over here, I'm going to say this is milk and this is dairy and this is $5.50. Yeah, and there's another record here and I'm going to say this is eggs. Oh, I'm going to say cabbage and I'm going to say produce and I'm going to say $3.75. Then when I'm ready, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of click on go. And it's going to do that. I'm just going to go over here and let's go see what I did. So now when I come to products, you'll notice that I have, well, I have two of these guys. I kind of did a little bit wrong. So I'm just going to come over here, check. I'm going to delete this guy over here, delete this guy here. So now I got my price and those kind of things, right? So for now, we're going to be creating a table and the database and a table, right? So go ahead and install that. Let's go see if you can do it. Until the next time, I'm going to stop.